so much for having me, and also thank you so much for organizing these events. I know there's so much work, and for us who also trade and run a business at the same time, we know how demanding it is, and how we have to be super organized to be able to perform on both levels. So for me to be able to show up on your platform, oh my God, such a relief. So thank you so much. Now I want to talk about something that I'm super excited about, and that I really haven't seen much being spoken about in the trading environment. We always talk about how can you improve your trading technique, learning new trading skills like reading the charts, understanding the market environment better, controlling our emotions. And, it's always the same. And I was exactly the same at the beginning, where I always wanted to learn how to get another indicator, or how to improve my thinking strategies. Something that has only come up recently in the last few years is how to use the power of our body, right? So of our nervous system. And this is really what I want to dive into today in the 50-minute presentation, which is really not enough. Now, general advice disclaimer in a nutshell: you're responsible for your actions. I don't take any responsibility. Anything that I say is based on my research, and you need to confirm and do your own research and not solely rely on me. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a psychologist. I'm a highly trained coach. So that's all it says here. I don't want to talk about myself too much because we don't have much time. So you can always go to my website or go to Twitter, ask me there. Doesn't matter, right? All right. So when we look at what it takes to succeed in anything in life, according to Rich Diviney, who is an ex-Navy SEAL and did a lot of research into the mind of the Navy SEALs that make it through the um, um, training and the ones who give up, is those 4 attributes. It's courage, perseverance, adaptability, and resilience. Right? So the definition of courage is the ability to manage fear in order to confront danger, difficulty, or pain. So feeding the fear and doing it anyway, to say it simply. And I don't know about you, but I experience a lot of fear in trading, and it's doesn't matter, right? It's not a bad thing when we know how to manage our fears, when we know how to use our fear to perform better, and not letting the fear take over and paralyze us. Perseverance is constancy in doing something despite difficulty or delay in achieving success. A word that I hear a lot being thrown around is consistency, and it's one of the C words that I despise. I don't believe there's consistency in anything. If you look at nature, there is no such thing as consistency, and there's such a big misunderstanding of what consistency means. Now, constancy, I like that approach much better, because it is, for me, constancy, it's being adjusting all the time, right? So I want to do something, a difficulty comes up, now I need to adjust, right? So how we have to constantly adjust to the markets. We are in a strongly trending market, and then we are in a sideways market. We need to adjust to this market. Now, adaptability is to quickly and calmly adjust to changing circumstances and situations. And that ties back into perseverance and constancy, doesn't it? And again, it's the same in trading. We constantly have to adjust to the market changing. I mean, last Friday, when the Dow was going up nicely, and then suddenly a massive sell order came in, it's like, better hit the exit button on my long. So constantly needing to adjust, right? Resilience, ability to rapidly return to our baseline emotional and mental state. And which is really interesting is, after stressful, trading is stressful, right? Traumatic. So when we had a really big loss, or even triumphant event when we had, the best month ever. We know that after a traumatic or stressful triumphant event, we are prone to making mistakes. And I tweeted recently at the beginning of the month, based on the interactions that I had with my coaching clients, that when you had, so some of my traders had like the best months ever. They would, generate $1,000 a day repeatedly, and they never had these kind of returns before. Now I know that they are now at the risk of superhero syndrome, as I call it, because they think they've made it. They love that feeling of winning. They have lost the ability to lose gracefully, right? They start protecting their P&L. So all these little mistakes start creeping in. We take our eyes off the ball, and maybe give half of the profits back. So I want to inoculate my traders, so that they don't have to go down that path, that they know, okay, so now I'm in danger of making a mistake. Now I have to be really, really managing myself and controlling myself to keep my performance up. And then there were other traders, some of my traders who are constantly high performing traders, um, 5-figure traders a week. They had a horrible February. They didn't do well at all. And so what the risk for them is, so one of my traders, who, is one of those 5-figure a week traders, ended February with, $20,000 down, which is not that much for him, but that's not the point, right? It really impacted his self-confidence, and it kind of shook him, right? Because he's a good performer, always in profits throughout the year. And so for him, the danger was that he would, of course, trying to make the loss back. And that then also sets us up for for screwing up, for going on tilt, for forcing trades, for maybe hesitating taking trades because we're afraid of taking more losses. So whatever it is for the individual trader, what we do know is that this experience sets the trader up for making bad or unresourceful, unhelpful trading decisions that lead to more losses rather than profits. Now, in this case, it's really important to say, all right, so I'm $20,000 down now on my P&L, on my equity. I take whatever I have right now as a new starting point. And so we can never make back what we have lost. We can't make back time. We can't make back money. It's just impossible. Um, David, I'm not going to keep an eye on the chat, so if you could keep an eye on it, I would really appreciate it. All right, so today I want to really share with you a superpower that all of us can tap into and that not many are aware of. And I want to credit Andrew Huberman, Professor Dr. Andrew Huberman, to show him the respect. And his Twitter is Huberman Lab, and his Instagram is Huberman Lab. And he's been popping up everywhere. And he is a neuroscientist who decided to share the work and the research that he's being paid for at Stanford, and to share that for free. So I have been studying him intensely the last month, and I want to share with you the insights that I'm so excited about, because when we start to understand how our body works, how our what it means to have anxiety and stress, what it means to have happiness and focus within our body, our internal mechanisms, then we can take better charge of our internal mechanisms, our body, aka we can take better charge of our emotions, our feelings, our thoughts, and our actions. So everything of our experience in life, from what we think about, what we feel, what we accomplish, is driven by the nervous system. And I know that from Feldenkrais, which I'm a big fan of, that the saying is the brain via the nervous system tells the muscles what to do, and not just the muscles, right? We also know the internal organs, but when you ever have experienced that you thought, I need to get out of this trade, I need to get out of this trade, the loss is getting bigger, I need to get out of this trade, but your index finger didn't obey, right? Didn't press that button. That shows that there's a disconnect between your brain and the muscles on your fingers, and the disconnect is somewhere in your nervous system. So now we can start really taking charge of what is going on, and how we can control or take charge of our um, um, internal operations, so that we can actually press that mouse button and don't need to let our losses run, or we don't need to miss out on trades anymore because again the finger didn't follow the command. Now press that button and get into the trade. So the question is, how can we better self-regulate ourselves? Kind of like creating a control panel for our behavior. How can we control ourselves and create ourselves in a way that allows us to be more objective and to make better decisions? The nervous system is designed to orchestrate all the processes in the body, not just the thinking and the behavior, just really the processes that control the nervous system, that help us to create wellness. And when we look at and I'll get back to those charts in a minute, when we look at the functions of our nervous system, it helps us to understand our sensations. So the sensations are the five senses, or some say we have six senses of feeling, hearing, smelling, tasting, and I forgot one. Never mind. Most probably know which one it was. It helps us then to create a spotlight of attention. So if I say to you now, what does your foot feel like? Now suddenly you put your spotlight of your attention to the sensation of feeling of your foot, whereas before that feeling was there the whole time, but now you have started to, with intention, channel your focus to that area of your foot. Then we have the perception. Now the perception is really what decides um, which which sensation and how we channel our intentions. So perception is, for example, we have millions of sensations coming into us, right? We have feelings. We sit on our chair, we use our fingers, we hear sounds the whole time. Our eyes get information all the time. Um, so perception is which one of those sensations we let in, we filter through. And that, of course, will impact our feelings and emotions, will trigger our thoughts, and that will create our actions and behavior. So you can see now, when we start understanding the sequence of events, we can now change the sequence of events within our body so that in the end we get the actions and behaviors that we want. Getting out of a losing trade when we need to, getting into a trade setup when the event is being triggered. So when we look at sensations, our eyes are really our most important trading tool. And what I learned from Huberman is the importance of the circadian rhythm. And I knew about it, and I'm pretty sure you knew about it too, where we need to understand that our body has a rhythm. And when we can adjust our rhythm of how we work, and how when we take rest, and when we study, and when we take time connecting with other people or doing sports, when we take the natural rhythm of our body and then put our behaviors and actions into that rhythm, we will be able to improve our performance. Now, the thing is, the DAX opens at 6 o'clock in the evening here. The DAX doesn't care about my circadian rhythm. So what I need to do now is to understand, how can I use the natural actions of my body, the hormones, the chemicals that run through my system that trigger certain behaviors in my body, and manipulate them in such a way that I can perform my best when at the time when I need to be in front of the computer. So one amazing tool that Huberman shared, which I have been doing in the last month really, and had a massive impact on my performance, is going out in the morning. So I put a photo here, which I came out. It's about 7 o'clock in the morning here, and there was this beautiful rainbow in my backyard. So going out in the morning and exposing your eyes just for a few minutes to the blue and yellow lights of the morning. This is really important because that triggers the circadian rhythm in your body. You can sleep much better as a result, right? Um, we don't need to know why and how. I'm just looking for what gives me the result that I want. The how and why I leave to experts like Huberman. So every morning I go to the backyard at 7 and expose my eyes and also do breathing exercises because after a night's sleep, I want to really oxygenize my brain and my body. I found my most efficient times are the morning. In the mornings, I'm super efficient when it comes to learning, when it comes to studying, when it comes to analyzing, when it comes to getting things done. And understanding what your rhythm is. For you, it might be the afternoon or the evening. When you understand what your rhythm is, you can now use it with volition. Now, what I said before is the DEX opens in the evening for me, so I'm usually tired at that time. But what I do is I do afternoon naps because that's all I can do to help me with my performance and to be rested. So I take the naps such that as if I have 2 days in one. So I get up early in the morning, I do other things besides trading, my coaching, etc. Then I have an afternoon nap. Then I wake up, start my day afresh, and then my trading time starts. Yeah, so um, understanding the circadian rhythm of your body is super important, and I never paid enough attention to it. Now, also, our eyes are what we use to do the pattern recognition in the charts, right? So we want to train our brain, we want to train our eyes to recognize patterns. And how do we do that? So really interesting again, Huberman says that we can focus for 90 minutes. And after 90 minutes, we need to take a break. We need to take a rest where we don't have any sensory input. Now, how you can do that best, and this is what I do with my traders, and where I see massive improvements, is go on live market replay and practice the setup. So I am not a big fan of sim trading because sim trading is just not the same like when you trade live because there's just nothing at stake for you. When you go um, in backwards in a chart, let's say you want to backtest a strategy and you go back to the beginning of February to backtest your strategy, that is also not a accurate representation of how the chart unfolds because all the moving averages have already caught up and so on. The bars, you kind of already know what the bars and what the market is doing. If you go on live market replay, which Sierra Chart has, TradeStation has, Ninja has, like most platforms have it now. And if you have a platform like crappy MT4, MT5 like I do, go on TradingView for I don't know $25 a month. You get that included. And so it's really important that you train your brain to recognize when your pattern sets up. And so, in hindsight, to see a double bottom is really easy, but to see the double bottom setting up, this is what you need to train your brain. And that's what you do that's what you do going on live market replay, that you train your brain to recognize the moment when the double bottom has set up and not only recognize it afterwards. Now, what Huberman says is study and train and practice for 90 minutes. Your learning does not occur during those 90 minutes. Your learning occurs during the rest time. And again, it's something that was very new to me. I knew that in the context of sports, when they say your muscles don't develop and grow when you are in a gym, they actually develop and grow when you are taking rest, and that's why it's so important to have rest days. It's the same with your brain. When you study 90 minutes, then take a break. And where you do nothing, you don't read, you don't listen to music, you just sit there and you breathe, or you let the thoughts meander along. Go out, have a coffee, and just be with your thoughts. Um, Best part would be if you could have a little nap, but that's not always possible. So take 20 minutes just to relax and rest your brain. In those 20 minutes, that's when the learning gets ingrained in your brain. And it shows again, it's not the ones who work the hardest and try to do everything they can. I see that all the time, right? My traders say, I'm working so hard, I'm doing everything I can. They get barely any sleep, and yet they have no results to show for. It's because they don't use their body to optimize their performance. They don't understand how their body works. So I rather have you doing one session of live market replay than listening to a webinar, frankly. And then after the 90 minutes, take a 20 minutes break, rest your brain, and know that in those 20 minutes, the learning occurs and you have ingrained that into your unconscious. And that's where then the unconscious competence starts to take charge, right? So when we look at feelings and emotions, and we all hate feeling bad, we all hate feeling anxious and stressed. Emotions and feelings are the product of a nervous system, and they're simply brain chemicals that have the profound influence on our emotional states. And these chemicals are called neuromodulators: dopamine, serotonin, acetyl, can't pronounce that word, epinephrine as well. Now, again, I don't need to know exactly what these neuromodulators do, and Andrew Huberman explains that in detail, and it's fascinating to me, and I'm afraid it's a little boring for you, so I'm not going down that path, even though I did study it. But the when we understand that dopamine, for example, is the chemical that makes us feel good, that's like a reward chemical. Serotonin, on the other hand, is where we experience happiness, where we feel maybe gratitude. So it's where we feel happy about something that we have. Dopamine is where we feel happy about something that we have done or have achieved, or where we need an external kick to feel good. Yeah, that's again all we need to know. Now that is really important about dopamine, because now, and Andrew talks about that, addictions are driven by the craving of dopamine. Let's have a look at going on tilt. Sorry, want to yeah, going on tilt. Going on tilt is driven and triggered by the experience of anxiety and stress. And my definition of anxiety and stress is getting the fear of getting what you don't want, or the fear of not getting what you do want. Right? So the fear of not getting what you do want is not getting the profits. The fear of getting what you don't want is having losses. So it's driven by some sort of trigger that creates anxiety and stress. Let's say you and again, I get the emails all the time. I created my plan. I knew exactly what to do. The moment came, the entry was triggered. I didn't take the trade. The trade went really well. I missed out on a massive profit. And now the self-loathing starts, right? The anger starts, the frustration starts, the feeling disappointed starts. All those feelings, which are nothing but chemicals in your body. And so when you have those feelings, those intense feelings that you go through, just remind yourself, oh, it's just a chemical mix in my body. What can I do about that? Now, the danger is that the body now craves dopamine. It craves that feel good chemical. And there's a resourceful way to getting that dopamine. There's an unresourceful way of getting that dopamine. And the going on tilt, like taking drugs, like drinking, like, all the addictive behaviors. This is an unresourceful way of getting your dopamine. Unresourceful because it doesn't get you what you want. It gets you exactly the thing that you don't want. So going on tilt, when you press that, when you have the urge to get into a trade and you press that mouse button, that very moment you press that mouse button, you have some sort of a chemical flush going on in your body, and that makes you feel good in the moment until you're back in a loss again. So now let's have a look at what would be a resourceful way of getting that dopamine fix. And I have been known to resort to chocolates, even though it's not the healthiest, but if it helps me in the moment to manage myself not to go on tilt, I take that gladly. I did that at the beginning until I have learned to manage myself and to find resourceful ways of getting that dopamine fix. So here's, for example, what you can do. So you have missed that trade and you feel bad. Know that in that moment, your body has a lack of dopamine and it wants to get its dopamine fix. The way I train my traders to get the dopamine fix is to say, okay, that's all right. My analysis was great, so positive reinforcement. My timing was out, so I didn't enter when I saw the setup. What is it that I can now do to improve my trading? Right? We all know that, but we also now understand that when we have that kind of self-talk, that we are able to get the dopamine fix. What can I do to improve? I was working with a trader who had the experience that he was micromanaging his trades. So he gets into a trade, he has his profit target, and halfway to the profit target, the market stalls, so there's a little retracement, and then he feels uncertain, he feels fear. And his self-talk, so now let's go onto to the other function of the nervous system. It triggers self-talk and thoughts. The self-talk was, oh, I don't want to give my profits back. I don't want to lose again. I don't want to stay stuck in my job. I want to make my wife proud. And all those thoughts came up. And then that was in my coaching circuits in my group. And then I got one of my traders who is an extremely successful trader. And I said to her, so what is your self-talk when you get the fears? Because guys, we all get the same fears. We all have the fear of giving money back. We all have the fear of ending up in a loss again. It's then how we respond to it. So, and because I'd worked with her intensely, I knew how she is going to respond. She said, and excuse my French, I'm quoting here. She said, well, when I see my trade not performing or stalling or retracing, I look at, has the order flow changed? And with the change of the order flow, has the price broken or breached my trend line? And if it's breaching the trend line, then I get the fuck out of my trade. And I loved it because it's really like, that's how you have to talk to yourself. I get the fuck out of my trade, like with conviction. And you don't need to swear if that doesn't work for you, but really the conviction in what you're going to do. Now, the difference between those two levels of self-talk, the trader who is frankly not doing so well, he made it all about himself, the feelings he didn't want to experience, the feelings that he was afraid of, the disappointment he was afraid of. He made it all about external reward, right? Being rewarded by how his wife is happy with him, being rewarded by what he can buy. Whereas the my trader who's doing really well, she made it all about the market and the chart. Yeah, so when you have those thoughts about, oh man, I don't want to lose, that's okay because that is what we call reflexive thoughts. Thoughts, they're like pop-up windows, Huberman says, on Google, they just pop up. And it's okay, let them pop up and then continue the thought. I don't want to lose. That's all right. Of course, we don't want to lose. What does the chart do? Has chart broken my trend line? Has the order flow changed? If yes, I get out. If no, I can be with those emotions because I know when I push through those emotions, I strengthen my internal system, my nervous system. And like Darwin, I'm going to be in the top 1% of traders who survive, right? Darwinism. Now, what we do is we're using the power of the spotlight of attention. Remember, that was the other um, tool that our nervous system gives us to from how we feel to the process. And I know it's being said all the time. Focus on the process and um, don't focus on the results. But what does it really mean in our body? Why do we have to do that? And now it makes complete sense. Hopefully, it makes complete sense to you guys as well. Yeah. So what it really means is finding a way to get our dopamine kick in a resourceful way. What I also found really, really useful is to praising ourselves and to have positive reinforcement as we progress in the trade. So, for example, what most traders do is they get the exit is triggered, the trade doesn't turn out to finish in a profit, they're in a loss, and then the self-loathing starts. And the self-loathing makes it even worse because the more we self-loathe, the more our chemical neuromodulators, our chemical mix gets out of whack, and then we crave more dopamine, and the danger to go on tilt, of course, gets stronger and stronger. When you say to yourself, all right, my timing was out, I didn't get out where I wanted to get out, but I did get out, and we start reinforcing, possibly reinforcing our behaviors and knowing that we improve. So what can I do next time to get out and to improve? What can I do next time to to exert more control over my behavior, over my thoughts, over my feelings? Because guys, this is practice. Just because you've written into your trading plan that you have to get out at a certain price doesn't mean that you can. You have to train that muscle of your brain communicating with your muscle via the nervous system. You have to train that, and the more you train it, the better you get. And so have compassion for yourself and be proud of yourself that you do this hard thing called trading, that you are up for courage and train your resilience and your determination. So constant reinforcement will help you to improve much, much faster than being down on yourself and feeling bad about yourself. The feeling bad about yourself might start like those pop-ups, right? But then continue the self-talk. Oh man, how could I be such an idiot and not get out? If I had gotten out here, I would have had a nice profit rather than getting out at a loss. Well, that's okay. Something was obviously missing. So let's have a look at how I can improve next time and how I can how I can be more present in the moment so that I have more control over my actions. And now that takes us to the next really important part, our actions and our behaviors. So we can direct our actions, aka getting out of the trade, getting into a trade, and keeping our finger from the mouse when we are prone to micromanaging, meaning we are getting out before our exit has been triggered. And yeah, that's pretty much micromanaging. So we can direct our actions with the power of thought and now using our emotions as a guidance system. When you have so much self-awareness, everything starts with self-awareness. When you understand how you feel in a certain moment and you feel that feeling creeping up. So one of the feelings is what I mentioned before, when you had an extraordinary month, then you're at risk of superhero syndrome. If you know how superhero feels, yeah, so superhero meaning the lack of focus, the thinking that you've made it, the thinking that you're invincible. When you know what that feels and you feel it already creeping up, now you can start with the power of your thought to direct your actions and not making a stupid mistake and then ending up going on tilt because you didn't want to destroy your beautiful P&L and you try to make it back and then you go into a tailspin. One really important ingredient to learning and to keeping control of our actions is focus. Now, there's two types of focus. It's the intense attention on what we are doing, on the learning, on the charts, on the trading, but it's also the absence of distraction. The absence of distraction is not going on social media. And guys, I can't tell you how many times I posted a chart with a setup on Twitter and then missed my own entry. And I'm not doing that anymore, right? Or how many times did I read something on Twitter because it was interesting and then I missed an announcement that I was waiting for? Yeah, so it's the absence of distraction. And Linda Rushke, she never has the TV on. She is not on social media. Yes, she posts charts, but she is not reading any social media during trading hours. She is really, really big of keeping your distractions to a minimum so that you can increase your focus and have that intense attention on the market. Yeah. So again, remember, you can only have 90 minutes of intense attention, and then you need to follow that up with 20 minutes of mental rest. And this is often why traders, they do really well at the beginning of the trading period and then give it all back because the brain is just exhausted. What is also really interesting is when you look at growth mindset. So again, you have made a mistake. You let a loss. You let a really good profit. That happened to a trader of mine last week. He had four-figure profit. I think it was a $4,000 profit. He let it run into $500 loss. And he was so angry at himself, so angry. And then, of course, we know what happens on the back of anger. When we have anger and stress, the problem is not the anger and the stress. The problem is that it then kicks in those chemicals that stop us from um, from accessing our prefrontal lobe, where all the logical thinking is being done. So we can't make good trading decisions anymore. We can't absorb all the important information anymore that we need to absorb. Yeah, where we see a change in the market environment, where we see a change in order flow. We can't process that information anymore when we are under duress. And so that's why it's really important when you are prone to feeling stressed that you look at developing a growth mindset. Now, growth mindset, we know all everything that's already been posted on social media about growth mindset. But what the key element is of these people who have a growth mindset is that they enjoy solving problems, right? So when we look at enjoying solving problems, look at our trading journey. This is us, right? We are at the beginning of our trading journey. And our goal is to be a top trader, to create independence and financial freedom through trading. Now, on the way, there's all these obstacles that we need to overcome. A trader with a growth mindset who will certainly become successful is someone who's excited every time a problem comes up. Every time he hits superhero syndrome, it's like, yay, now is an opportunity for me to resolve this unresourceful superhero syndrome. Or when they didn't get out of a trade and they let the profit run into a loss, to get excited and say, wow, so there's obviously something going on for me that I need to resolve internally. Maybe a belief system, maybe a value system. I was working with a trader last night who has been brought up in South America, so in Latin America. I was born in Latin America and now lives in Europe. And so he lives in Germany. And the experience he had was that his parents were quite well off, and then through corruption and other influences, the parents lost everything. So it wasn't their own fault. It was because they were at the mercy of a regime. And that had a massive impact on his money mindset, on his relationship with money. And so every time he makes money, he has this fear creeping up of that he's going to lose it all, because that was his experience when he was a 10-year-old. The family pretty much went from being well off into extreme poverty. Now he is such a rock star because he was super excited to work through it and to deal with it and to resolve it and to become better. Whereas what I find with most traders, they are afraid of those feelings. They're afraid and they get really down on themselves and they make those mistakes. So in his case, it was really the rhythm of making money, losing it all, making money, losing more. And so he knows his way out. There is a way out. The obstacle is the point. If you didn't need to grow and have those obstacles, then you would already have your goal, right? So that's now the growth mindset where you get excited about solving problems, finding solutions, knowing that there's always a way, and add a pinch of dopamine. Now, that's the power of your thoughts and your self talk. All of this, the going on tilt, the hesitating, taking a trade, making a plan, and doing the opposite. I hope that you now get a little bit of an insight into how to manage yourself when you have those behaviors and to really embrace them. Embracing meaning in this case, not loving that you go on tilt, but loving that now something came up that you can resolve and work through and grow with it and become better for it. Um, what is also really interesting, again, how we can use our brain and our nervous system for optimal performance is, remember how I said before, we have 90 minutes, 90 minutes of optimal learning time, and then afterwards we need to take a break. What I found with most traders, they're so super excited about trading. They're so determined to make it work. They're so dedicated to make it work that they put far too much onto their actions list, on habits to create and routines to implement, that they set themselves up for failure. They're physically not able to do everything they set out to do because it's just so much time you can dedicate, especially when you have family. You're still working a full-time job. Now, what I do with most of my traders, I start with them on doing your market preparation, if possible, depending on where you live, in the evening before you trade. So if you trade during your daytime and do your market analysis the night before. Because again, what Huberman explains is that we process the information that we learn in our rest period. And what I have observed, not only with myself, but with a lot of successful traders, is when we prepare in the evening, we sleep throughout the night. The next day, we have a higher level of intuition, a higher level of just being in rhythm with the market and knowing what the market does, or we don't know, but having a higher sense for the probabilities of what the market is going to do. And that's why it's so important to do your analysis on the weekend as well, because then your brain has time to process the information in the unconscious. Now, if it is something like with us, right, where um, as I said, the DEX opens at 6 o'clock here at the moment, Australian time, or 4 o'clock during daylight savings, out of daylight savings. What you can do is do your analysis, then have your 20, 30-minute deep rest, meditate, do yoga nidra, do breathing exercises. I personally love Wim Hof. I've been to a Wim Hof um, what's it called weekend. It's just amazing the changes that we can create when we become intentional with our circadian rhythm. Whereas I know many traders, they meditate early in the morning, but then I wonder, is that really useful? Is that really the right time to meditate? I personally am not a big fan of meditation. Doesn't do anything for me. I did it for a while simply because I didn't want to do it, and I thought, I need to prove to myself that I can do it. I did prove it to myself, and so that is it. I'm not really a big meditation fan. Most traders that I know, they don't, like most successful traders, like really big 6, 7 figure traders. None of them meditates. They all drink alcohol. None of them does those things that we read on social media that you have to do to optimize your performance. But there's no right or wrong. Whatever works for you. The I just want to touched onto the Wim Hof work. So that was really interesting. I have become a really big fan of ice baths. When we are going on trigger, when we are going on tilt, when we feel our emotions take over, when anxiety kicks in, our sympathetic and our parasympathetic nervous system is out of whack. So what we want to do is we don't need to be afraid. We only need to understand how can we get back into balance. Yeah, so this is what this one says. Balance is homeostasis. And I know traders, and again, Linda is really remarkable with this, where Linda makes a mistake, right? She makes a mistake like everyone. In case you don't know who I'm talking about, Linda Rushke, which was in the Market Wizards, which is one of the most successful traders in the world. So she also makes mistakes. She also misses trades. But her ability to go back into balance is so strong, so fast. So she gets upset, or not upset. She's like, "Oh man, I missed this trade. Oh, I can't believe I got out of this trade too early." 5 minutes, and then she's already focusing onto new trades, new opportunities. And this is really, when you look at what's going on inside of us, when we are upset about having missed a trade or having gotten out too early or gotten out too late, this is really our sympathetic nervous system, our fight and flight kicking in. When you know how to get into parasympathetic and balance out again, then you have full control over your mind, over your feelings, over your thoughts, over your nervous system. And so one of the ways that I manage myself is now with the ice baths. Now, ice baths was really interesting because you can see here the instructor teaching me how to slow down my breathing. And when I was in the water, my breathing was really rapid and fast. And then he said, just breathe really slow. So that was going from sympathetic into parasympathetic. The power of breath to manage our nervous system is incredible. And there's many different ways of breathing, the box breathing, the Wim Hof breathing, the Tony Robbins breathing. So try everything and see what works best for you. And I believe I promised that I will be on time, and my time is pretty much up. So I think I managed to get through the whole presentation. That's the first, David. I want to leave you with the knowledge that every losing trader has a bright future. As Karl Barth said, though no one can go back and make a brand new start, but anyone can start from now and make a brand new end. On that note, over to you, David.
You have up to another 7 minutes if you have anything else you want to.
7 minutes. Wow. Okay. It says 50 minutes here on my timer. That's why.
Yeah, 55 minutes is the limit. So.
Oh, all right. I got it wrong. Are there any questions? I mean, I love questions.
Are you able to see the chat?
I see the chat now.
Okay.
So someone's asking about revenge trading. Yeah, so revenge trading is pretty much the same. I love that question. Very entertaining. Okay. So revenge trading is where we made a mistake. Because we made a mistake, we start feeling really bad about ourselves. We swear at ourselves. We have this self-talk where we say, how could you do that? What's wrong with me? Will I ever make it? And by the way, I think I'm having another presentation tomorrow. Is that correct, David? Am I speaking tomorrow again? If not, I cover that actually now.
Yes, I think there's so many. Let me check.
Okay, cool.
Yes, 4 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow. So
yeah, so my 8 a.m. Cool.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to talk about tomorrow is what to do with that self-talk. because it often is coming down to I don't deserve to be successful. I'm such a screw up. I never was successful in anything in my life, or the opposite. I was successful in other areas. How come I can't make it in trading? So this kind of self-talk that is really that backfires on us. That doesn't help us to improve and to grow, and doesn't help us to embrace the mistakes that we make and move closer towards our goals. So revenge trading happens again. Trigger is we make a mistake. Or another trader I was working with, he sets his trades in as buy stops or buy limits, and then he was not, like, he missed the entry by one tick, didn't get executed, and then the trade went, and went like into Mount Everest. Would have been like a several $1,000 profit, and then the sense of regret came in. So imagine that in that moment you have a lack of dopamine in your brain, and your brain now wants dopamine. And the way you give your brain dopamine, so the way that feels in your body is with feeling stressed, feeling anxiety, feeling discomfort, feeling hurt, feeling all these uncomfortable feelings. All these uncomfortable feelings are really a lack of dopamine. Very simplified, right? Or a lack of those neurotransmitters. Now our body is seeking dopamine. Our nervous system is seeking dopamine. And the way it gets it is by pressing that mouse button. And anyone who has gone on tilt or has done revenge trading knows that there's this enormous energy or enormous pressure building up in the body. The moment you press that mouse button, you get into a trade. It's just, now you need to learn to give yourself a different way of giving that dopamine rush. So what you say to yourself is, my brain now wants me to press that mouse button because that gives instant relief. But on the back end of that is it gives instant pain again because you're making a mistake. So step one is to have the awareness of when you are at risk to do revenge trading. Once you are in revenge trading, once you are already on tilt, it's almost too late. It's really hard to get yourself out of it. Like, it's really hard to get yourself out of it when the addicted person has a bottle of wine, the alcoholic has a bottle of wine. To stop them drinking is just almost impossible. So the intervention has to come before they even go to the liquor shop. The same with us. Intervention has to come before we even have started revenge trading. So that's why it's so important that you know exactly where in your body do you feel those feelings. Because often we can feel those feelings of fear, of stress, of self-loathing creep up. Now, depending on where those feelings are they, when you feel them, let's say in your solar plexus, a kinesiologist, which is KINESIOLOGIST. For those guys who don't know what kinesiology is, you can Google it. My kinesiologist explained to me, when we have those feelings in our solar plexus, these feelings of self-loathing, that's always an expression of lack of power, feeling we're not in control, feeling we're at the mercy of life. So now we want to get power back. So again, the more you understand about what is going on in your body, in your mind, what feelings are, what thoughts are, the more you can build up this control panel of behavior. And so you know now, okay, I have this feeling in my solar plexus. I know I'm feeling out of control now. Consequently, what will happen is that I'm going to try to get control. Me trying to get control is the same as getting this dopamine flush in my body, and that makes me feel good momentarily. But I know this is not going to get me the result I want. So how else can I get this feeling of being in control? So I always feel when I do exercise, movement, push-ups, squats, going for a run, that gets me feeling like I'm again at the course of my life. I'm in control of my life. So this is how you start dealing with revenge trading and going on tilt, for example, where you say, what is it? What does it feel like when I'm in it? How can I recognize those feelings really, really early? It's like, before you get an injury in your body, when you feel your muscles are tight, your hamstring is tight, for example, for soccer players, your hamstring is tight, and then you go immediately to the massage therapist and you get it massaged so that you won't have an injury. Yeah? Our hamstring are our feelings and our thoughts. They can be the early warning signal for you, so you don't need to go on revenge trading and tilt. Right? Was that my 7 minutes?
Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you.
Hang on. Can I just give that one
Oh,
one
yeah,
more?
yeah. Anka is next, and she's the last presentation. So
Okay,
yeah, if you want
cool.
to take a couple of extra minutes, that's fine.
Just this one, yeah. So because it's a really good one. Thank you so much, Don, for sharing. So I'm experiencing revenge trading now after a big loss today. It gave me a migraine. Yeah, that's so interesting. So after a big loss, drink a lot of water. So here's the thing, right, with the big loss. The big loss is a traumatic event. A traumatic event is a memory in your mind. And also it's going to toss all the chemicals around in your body. Drink a lot of water to begin with. Become really clear of your emotions. So where do you feel? So you said you had a migraine, so I assume there's a lot of feeling going on in your head. Where in your body do you feel those feelings? So become really introspective of where you feel this pain of that big loss. Be aware of the thoughts that you have. Write down those thoughts that you have after that big loss. And now find a way to get yourself back into balance. Yeah, so it's this one here. Get your back into balance. You're like in the extreme of sympathetic. You want to now start getting your parasympathetic work so that you get back into balance, which is this one. Have a cold shower, like really find out what it is for you. Connect with family. Anything that helps you to feel better and become excited about, wow, I did revenge trading today, which is this one here. Wow, I did revenge trading today. There is something for me to learn and to resolve so that I can improve and can become a better trader and achieve my goal of, I assume, being a kick-ass trader, right? Whatever that means to you. So I hope that starts helping you to get a little bit of resolve about the big loss. And no, you're not alone. We all have done it. I have done it. I'm sure Anka has. It's about your resilience, right? So it's here then your courage. You might be in fear now to take the next trade and really slow down, really become extensively focused on your setups. Be persevere, right? Keep doing your strategy unless your strategy doesn't work in it. Having some whiskey, yeah, I'm with you there. Whiskey actually wrapped in chocolate. Those whiskey chocolates? I'm with you. um, become adaptable, right? So have a look at, have the circumstances in the market changed? So you need to adapt your strategy. And another really interesting point is maybe is your strategy suitable for the market, or is your strategy not suitable for the market? And this was maybe something that triggered your going on revenge trading. And then resilience. What is your baseline emotion after a stressful and traumatic mental state? Only when you're back in baseline, go back to the markets. So I hope that helped you a little bit. Thanks for allowing me to answer that question, David.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you for being here.